The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
All right, good day, Tokers and Tokats, and welcome to the brand new Roll the Tide Studios. It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. And thank you for joining us here for this very special edition of the Russ Belville Show, right here, our new location, Roll the Tide Studios, on the day before we take off for an extended summer tour. I'm going to be out until July 20th on the road with a band called the FNAs. Check out thefnas.com for more information, or radicalruss.com. I've got a post up with all of the tour dates. We're going across Arizona, Southern California, Northern California, Oregon, Washington State, Boise, Idaho, my hometown, on July 18th, and we end up in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've also got a Reno date as well, so check that out. I'd love to meet you guys on the road. Got stickers for each and every one of you. Also, specifically this weekend, Brian and I are taking off to the Aspen Legal Seminar in Aspen, Colorado. And speaking of that seminar and Colorado, we have got the executive director from Colorado NORML joining us, Leonard Frieling. He'll be on the air here at 1:30 to talk about the coming up Aspen Legal Seminar, what's going on with Colorado NORML, the news today about the new regulations for recreational marijuana in Colorado. We'll get his opinion on those and more subjects as we talk to him today in our activist agenda. At the end of the show, I got a little bit of a time for a radical rant. We're going to go off on Kevin Sabet once again. I do have to offer him a bit of an apology, but it's an apology over a meaningless marijuana statistic. I'll teach you why it's so meaningless when we get to the radical rant at the end of the show. Also, and behind the headlines, a terrible story of, once again, the destruction that is wrought by this drug war. A Michigan medical marijuana patient is going to be doing 10 years in prison at the same prison where they're holding the Boston bombing suspect. So we'll talk about why he got moved to this different prison, and it had a lot to do with the activists in the state of Michigan. Before we get to all of that, we've got our 420 headline news. As I mentioned earlier, Colorado is signing its new regulations for marijuana. We've got a increase in kids that are accidentally ingesting marijuana. We've got the Trayvon Martin case, an update on Trayvon's marijuana use. Federal employees in Michigan now can support a marijuana charity right from their paychecks, and another recruit for the pigskin potheads, another college player busted for weed. We'll tell you all about that when we come back.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
We're going back to San Francisco That's right, everyone. The High Times Medical Cannabis Cup is returning to the Bay on June 22nd and 23rd. Come to the Craneway Pavilion in Richmond, California for a High Times celebration of the best weed in the world. Meet the top cannabis businesses of the Golden State. Hear experts discuss indoor and outdoor growing. Find out about cannabis cuisine. Learn about the exciting new world of concentrates. Enjoy a massive medication area reserved for California medical marijuana patients only. And don't forget our swinging Saturday night concert when the stars come out. But as everybody knows, it's all about the cannabis. On Sunday night, we present the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup Awards for Best Sativa, Best Indica, Best Hybrid, Best Concentrate, Best Edibles, and more. Plus, we honor a living legend of the modern cannabis movement, San Francisco's own Dennis Perrone. That's June 22nd and 23rd at the Craneway Pavilion in Richmond, California. Go to medcancup.com for details. Be part of the growing cannabis community.
This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, May 28th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Colorado marijuana regulations signed into law from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A set of laws to govern how recreational marijuana should be grown, sold, and taxed was signed into law Tuesday in Colorado, where Democratic Governor John Hickenlooper called the laws the state's best attempt to navigate the uncharted territory of legalized recreational pot. The laws cover how the drug should be raised and packaged, with purchasing limits for out-of-state visitors and a new marijuana driving limit as an analogy to blood alcohol levels. Hickenlooper didn't support marijuana legalization last year, but he praised the regulatory package as a good first crack at safely overseeing the drug. Colorado's new marijuana laws include buying limits for out-of-state visitors. Visitors over 21 would be limited to 1/4 of an ounce in a single retail transaction, though they could legally possess the full ounce. The marijuana laws include a new series of taxes on the drug. If voters agree this fall, recreational pot would be facing a 15% excise tax, with the proceeds marked for local school construction. There would also be a new recreational pot sales tax of 10%, in addition to the regular statewide and local sales taxes. The special sales tax would be spent on marijuana regulation and new educational efforts to keep the drug away from children. Laxer marijuana laws linked to increase in kids' accidental poisonings? From CBS News. More kids appear to be getting their hands on marijuana-laced brownies, cookies, and beverages sold at medical marijuana dispensaries, leading to an uptick in emergency room visits at one Colorado hospital. For the study, researchers compared accidental marijuana ingestion rates at a Colorado Children's Hospital before and after October 2009. Prior to September 30th, 2009, 0 of 790 accidental poisoning cases were for marijuana. After October 1st, 2009, the number spiked to 14 of 588 cases, with 7 of them caused by eating medical marijuana products. Colorado voters legalized recreational marijuana use this past November, so increases in accidental ingestions may be even more likely in coming years. The solution may be child-resistant packaging. When child-resistant packaging was introduced for drugs like aspirin in the 1940s, accidental poisonings fell by 95%. Judge says no mention of Trayvon Martin's marijuana use or school suspensions in opening statements. From the Washington Post. Attorneys won't be able to mention Trayvon Martin's drug use, suspension from school, and past fighting during opening statements at the trial of a former Neighborhood Watch volunteer who fatally shot the teen, a judge ruled Tuesday. The judge also ruled that some of Martin's texts and other social media statements won't be allowed in opening statements, though it too could be allowed later with a ruling from the judge depending on how the case progresses. O'Mara told the judge that Martin's marijuana use and past fighting was central to the argument that Zimmerman used self-defense when he confronted Martin last year at a gated community in Sanford, Florida. Federal employees have new option to support marijuana reform charity from CBS Detroit. Marijuana advocates with government jobs will soon be able to support the cause directly through their paychecks. Starting this fall, federal government employees will have the option of choosing a payroll deduction benefiting a marijuana-related charity, Michigan Compassion, a federally recognized 501c3 nonprofit organization, will be included in the government's annual combined federal campaign catalog charity listings. Michigan Compassion co-founder Amish Parikh said his organization is the first medical cannabis federal nonprofit to be approved for the program. Other catalog charities include the Red Cross, Boy Scouts of America, and the American Cancer Society. Georgia starting safety Josh Harvey Clemens suspended for marijuana incident, from Sports Illustrated. Josh Harvey Clemens, Georgia's starting safety, was suspended for the team's season opener against Clemson, reports the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's Chip Towers. Harvey Clemens, a rising sophomore, was implicated for use of marijuana in a dorm room earlier this May. His teammate, tight end Ty Florney-Smith, was also involved. Police were granted consent to search the residence, and no marijuana was found. However, Florney-Smith and Harvey Clemens were said to have, quote, exhibited signs of marijuana ingestion as they had bloodshot eyes and dilated pupils. After questioning, the players admitted they had, quote, smoked a blunt. And in other news from Como News in Seattle, a man was stabbed twice during an argument over marijuana. The man had a large stab wound to his chest. Seattle fire personnel immediately called for paramedics units, and the victim was taken to Harborview Medical Center, where doctors soon discovered another stab wound to his lower back. In other news, nobody got stabbed at the liquor store. And this has been your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, May 28th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we tell you the sad story of Jerry Duvall, a medical marijuana patient who is headed to the same federal prison facility as the Boston bombing suspect. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
Medical marijuana right for you? When you are stricken by an illness, injury, or disability, you deserve to live your life as free from pain and suffering as possible. Modern medical researchers have developed some amazing pharmaceutical drugs, but these may not be the best solution for you. At Alternative Medical Choices, we help collect your medical records history and provide a physician's review and examination to help you qualify for the use of medical marijuana in Oregon and Washington State. Call 971-270-0262 or visit altmedchoices.com for more information and to schedule an appointment today. Alternative Medical Choices, because you deserve the best in healthcare.
Hi, I'm Keith Stropp. I'm legal counsel at NORML, and I'm the old guy who founded NORML back in 1970. I also recently published a book by High Times Press entitled It's Normal to Smoke Pot. I look forward to joining you at the Texas Regional Seminar coming up on June 7th through 9th. The seminar theme is Grabbing Prohibition by the Horns. And one thing for certain, we are at the tipping point in this country, and we are well into the process of ending prohibition once and for all. Hope to see you in Fort Worth in early June. Thank you.
And we'll be there with Keith Stropp as well at Grabbing Prohibition by the Horns, the Texas Regional NORML Conference. That's June 7th, 8th, and 9th. I hope to see you there in Fort Worth, Texas. All right, time for us to go behind the headlines. And today we've got a sad story to tell about Jerry Duvall. And this is from Huffington Post. It's called Medical Marijuana Patient Headed to Same Federal Prison Facility as the Boston Bomber. And this story is so disturbing because for those of us that are covering the medical marijuana issue, we recall the story of Richard Floor. Richard Floor was a 68-year-old man in Montana who got wrapped up in all the stings and all of the prosecutions that went down in Montana, and wouldn't cop a plea, ended up getting a sentence, and while he had his 5-year sentence, he died in federal custody because he's a medical marijuana patient, for God's sake. He had all sorts of things wrong with him that needed cannabis and other medications. And all of his supporters and friends and family tried to tell the federal prison officials, you've got to, put him in a decent facility where he can get this medical care. They ignored him because as far as they're concerned, marijuana is not medicine, so he can't be being cured from anything, right? And the man died in federal custody. He died for growing plants and getting them to patients. Well, Jerry Duvall has a similar situation. Now, he's been sentenced to 10 years in a federal facility, and the Department of Justice originally sentenced him to, regular federal prison, despite the judge in this case saying, look, the guy's sick, you got to take his medical condition into account. And what is this guy's medical condition? Well, Jerry Duvall, he's 53 years old. He had juvenile diabetes, and that led to both a kidney and a pancreas transplant. So he's got 2 organs transplanted. Also, guy's got glaucoma and neuropathy, right? So all sorts of things that, are the medical cannabis is helping this guy with. And that's the situation. Now, all of that's going to have to be treated with standard medications, some of which he was already on. And we're going to be footing the bill for that. We meaning the taxpayers. But the Department of Justice today has relented to public pressure finally, and it will allow Jerry Duvall to serve his 10-year sentence for marijuana in a facility that can better meet his medical needs. Now, this facility just happens to be the same facility where they're holding Johar Tsarnaev, the Boston bombing suspect. So he's going to the same prison where the bombing suspect will be. Now, despite the fact that, of course, the federal government prosecutes this man, according to the court documents that went down in the case, he was following Michigan's medical marijuana law. He was, completely following the law there, but he was convicted of having 174 plants. Now, Michigan's law allows a caregiver to grow up to 72 plants per 5 registered patients. Duvall had 2 greenhouses with plants in each of them, not run by himself, but run by his children, Jeremy and Ashley. So we've got 2 caregivers covering 10 patients, which should allow up to 144 plants, and then the plants that they would be able to have as patients themselves, right? So, really cutting it close as far as the Michigan law goes, but according to this report, following the Michigan law. Of course, that means nothing to the federal government, which would not even allow Jerry Duvall to mention his juvenile diabetes, his kidney and pancreas transplant, his various problems like neuropathy and glaucoma. He can't mention that. He's not allowed to mention that he's following Michigan's law. He's not allowed to mention that he's using marijuana and getting very, very good results from it. That is not admissible in federal court. And so this man goes through the kangaroo court and ends up with a 10-year sentence. Now, his son, Jeremy, was also prosecuted in this. If it's not bad enough that you're going to prison, your son goes to prison as well. He was prosecuted and serves a 5-year sentence at the moment in federal prison in Morgantown, West Virginia. He was offered a reduced sentence if he would testify against his father. Oh, how lovely our justice system is. If you'll snitch on your dad, we won't throw you in prison for so long. Well, of course, he rejected that that plea deal, as any real man would. Now, the wife, Ashley, was not charged, despite openly admitting to her involvement. But for some reason, prosecutorial discretion, they didn't go ahead and charge her as well. Meanwhile, of course, don't forget there's another side of this. Civil asset forfeiture. The Department of Justice is currently attempting to seize the Duvall family farm. So 10 years for the dad, 5 years for the son, and losing their family farm, probably passed down from a generation or 2 or 3, who knows. All because a man with 2 organ transplants, neuropathy and glaucoma, was growing some plants and helping get those to patients under a law that passed in every county in Michigan. Every county in Michigan voted for the Medical Marijuana Act of 2008. Now, if this wasn't enough to turn your stomach, there's a little twist on this story. Duvall said that he and his son are appealing their convictions, arguing that they should have been able to present evidence showing that they were in compliance with state law. Well, they're not going to get anywhere with that. The federal courts have already decided that. But here's the stomach turner. They also noted that a local law enforcement official inspected their operation in September 2010 and made recommendations to improve it, including additional signage, and signed off on its compliance with Michigan law. Local cop came in, inspected it, said put up more signage. Here you go, sign it. You're in compliance with Michigan law. That same officer went to work for the DEA and was involved in the subsequent raid on their property just a few months later. Duvall will argue in his appeal that the agent's involvement amounts to entrapment, And what he'll probably be doing here is something called entrapment by estoppel, which is where you believe that someone under the authority and color of law was directing you to do these actions and that these actions complied with the law. And certainly, if you got a local law enforcement official signing off that what you're doing is legal, and then he comes back months later as a fed to bust you, well, if it's not entrapment, it's certainly dirty, that's for sure. We worry about the guy. He says, marijuana made my life a lot easier. Without it, I don't know what's going to work for the neuropathy in my legs. Yeah, and that's the thing. The use of cannabis for neuropathy is better documented than just about any medical use we have. It's where opioid pain relievers won't work. This is the only thing this works. We're going to put this guy in prison for 10 years and let him suffer the stinging pain of neuropathy for that entire decade. All right, we're going to be right back with some music. Hopefully Bacon Dan calling in. Stay tuned.
He would sell you South Carolina, then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Oh, hello. I'm Big Daddy, and I want you to join me at the Funky Roller Ring. We're partying hard over here, baby. So stop on by, check out the funky grooves, and shake your booty too.
Don't get in too deep, brother. Don't get in too heavy. Don't get so you can move about whenever.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, folks, before we get to the music, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that came over yesterday at the old Rolla J Studios location for our farewell Memorial Day barbecue, or grill, I guess I should be accurate. And Portland weather did not cooperate at all. It was rainy and blustery and windy and cloudy and cold, so we all just kind of stayed inside. But I just wanted to say hi to Craig and Sharon and Herb and Mrs. Herb, and a little girl came over as well. It was nice to see you guys. And Bacon Dan came over, brought over some hot dogs. Hot dogs, the Hebrew Kosher National Hot Dogs come 7 in a package. I don't know what's up with that. 7 in a package versus 8 buns. I don't know. But anyway, it came over. Of course, Brian the Red put it all together. Great work, Brian. Thanks for helping out with that. We appreciate that.
Hey, no problem, and Ganja John and, Nikki stopped by. So
yeah, Ganja John and Nikki as well. So got to see a lot of people and kind of bid farewell to the old location. This is our new location, Rollatide Studios over here at Herb Thrasher's place. I'm going on the road for the next 6 weeks, and when we come back, we'll put together another new studio. So stay with us here at 420radio.org. The station and the shows continue even as the locations shift beneath it. All right, so let's get to our tune today. It's Electric Tuesday, Bacon Dan, the aforementioned Bacon Dan, and we had bacon for Bacon Dan too, so it was all good. Plenty of bacon. So Bacon Dan got this next tune for us. It's from Palm Dieter, and I don't know what that means. I don't know who that is, if it's a DJ or a producer or whatever, but I love the name of the tune, especially considering that we lost Ray Manzarek of The Doors just recently. We had a tribute to him on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour as well. You ought to check that out in the replays. But this tune is called Riders on the Sandstorm. Let's see what this one's all about.
Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road, yeah. Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Take him by the hand. Make him understand. Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone. Riders on the storm, 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 yeah,
This is a banana. This is a cat. This is fire. This is harmless and actually helpful to some people. Don't believe everything you hear. The fact is that every major health organization rejects smoked marijuana. Now that the smoke is cleared, discover truecompassion.org.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation? You need to know the truth about pot. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is the most comprehensive source of information regarding marijuana and its effects on health, as well as legal issues. NORML even offers a database of lawyers specializing in cannabis in your area. NORML, the nation's largest and most successful marijuana law reform organization, has spent decades gathering the knowledge and science on everything related to cannabis. NORML is the best resource to find out the truth about marijuana, connect with a lawyer in your area, or help find an end to prohibition. Information is available at norml.org, that's NORML.org, or toll free at 888-67-NORML.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And we are trying to get Lenny Frieling into our Google Hangout. We're still trying to connect to him in Denver, Colorado. So while Red Eyes is working on that, I'll tell you a little bit about our subject today, and that is the Aspen Legal Seminar. I've gotten to go to this seminar a few times back in my work with NORML, and it's just an amazing thing. If you are a marijuana activist and you want to get down into the law and exactly how it works, not how we wish it would work or what we wish it would do, but exactly how it works down there in the trenches. The Aspen Legal Seminar has been going on for years. I couldn't tell you how many, but over a decade for sure. And this is taking place this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Gant in Aspen, Colorado. We're going to be there. Brian the Red and myself are there, sponsored by one of our platinum VIPs, Randy. Thank you for sponsoring our trip out there. The items on the agenda are very, very interesting, and we'll be recording as many of these as we can. I may not be able to record all of them. Some of the lawyers don't want their little tips and tricks getting out, especially to other prosecuting attorneys. But on Thursday, Leonard Frieling, who's our guest from Colorado NORML, as soon as we get him on the line, on Thursday we'll be looking at an opening speech from Norm Kent, the NORML Board of Directors chairman. He'll be talking about the new normal, some of the changes on the horizon in the post-legalization era. Lance Rogers of San Diego will open up the seminar with his talk on ethical and legal liabilities of attorneys representing cannabis businesses. Now, this is kind of an interesting thing because the lawyers normally are not supposed to be telling their clients how to break a law. But in the case of representing some of these cannabis businesses, you have a situation where what they're doing may be legal under a state law, but not legal under the federal law. How do you ethically represent your client? And he's been teaching on cannabis law in the San Diego area for a long time. He successfully defended Jovan Jackson. If you remember the Jovan Jackson trial down there in San Diego, Lance Rogers was behind that. So they get the top people from all around the country to be a part of this seminar. At 10:30, this is a seminar I can't wait to get some information on because it's a subject that has always interested me. And it is on cell phone forensics for criminal defense attorneys and iPad for the defense. All right. So it's what's going on here with the latest laws on being able to be tapped and tracked with respect to your cell phone communications. And a very disturbing ruling that came out of the Supreme Court. I'm sure they'll go over this. E.X. Martin from Dallas, Texas will be running this seminar. But a very disturbing ruling that came down about this sort of law is that you have no expectation of privacy as to your whereabouts if you have a cell phone. The justices ruled if you wanted no one to know where you're at, you have to turn your cell phone off. So the only way you get any privacy is if no one can call you. So I'm sure we'll talk about that in that part of the seminar. Also happening on Thursday, debunking cellular telephone tracking, how to win your case and make the prosecutor cry, from Aaron Romano of Bloomfield, Connecticut. So a lot of these on texting and cell phones have become a very important topic for a lot of these attorneys. Then 12:25, there's a panel discussion, various ways to conduct effective voir dire. Now, this is where we start to get into lawyer speak. But voir dire is the process by which the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney can weed out, pardon the pun, people from a potential jury. So what are the basic tips and tricks on getting someone on the jury who's going to be friendly to your client, who's going to understand the futility of prohibition, but getting them past the district attorney who wouldn't want those people on the stand or on the jury box? The panel will include It's all Oklahoma, folks. It's 5 people from Oklahoma. Paul Brunton, J.W. Coyle, Jack Gordon Jr., David Smith, and Lawrence Martin, all from Oklahoma. Then from that point on, that's the end of the seminar on Thursday. Then an opening reception will be held at the Gant, where everybody gets to meet and greet. This is always a lot of free time for marketing and fun, so I'll get as many photographs as I can from that event. On Friday, May 31st, we have the second day of the Aspen Legal Seminar, and this will open with probably the number one expert when it comes to marijuana and impairment and the current driving laws, Paul Armentano, NORML's deputy director, good friend of the show, with Cannabis and Psychomotor Performance, the latest science you need to know. So he'll get you all up to date on DUIs and nanograms and per se's and permissible inferences, all of that part of the science and the law, and I certainly hope we can get that one recorded and back to you. Then, at 9:50 on Friday, challenging profile stops, a likely problem in states that border Colorado and Washington. And I've often made the joke that what will it be like once someone passes legalization? They'll have to have little, drive-through stands, like they have in California with the fruit. You don't have any marijuana buds on you, do you? Well, this is going to talk about those profile stops, what they do when they're going to target people that they suspect are going to be enjoying the freedom in Colorado and Washington. On Friday at 11 o'clock, we got how to subpoena email and how to block the government from getting to your client's email. In all this age of electronic communications, one of the first things you see when they raid a dispensary or somebody who's trying to grow is they take their computers and their laptops and their iPads and their cell phones. And there's just a wealth of information for prosecuting attorneys in there. We're going to talk about how to subpoena email and block the government from getting at that. Geraldine Merritt from Talk Left, as a matter of fact, will be there delivering that seminar. Then 11:50 on Friday, evidence for the defense, hearsay, 404B, and other evidentiary issues. Now we get real deep into the inside baseball of defense attorneys with Mary Chartier from Lansing, Michigan. Then that evening, 5 o'clock that evening, Friday, May 31st, there's a NORML benefit dinner at the home of Chris and Jerry Goldstein. Now, Jerry Goldstein is a very high-profile attorney, defended, if I can remember this, I'll find his list here. Yes, Jerry Goldstein. It's so long, I have to scroll up and scroll up and scroll up. He was a past president of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. He defended Manuel Noriega. That's who. I was trying to remember. He was the defense attorney for Manuel Noriega. Has also testified for Dr. Al-Badar Al-Hazmi, a fifth-year radiology resident in San Antonio who was arrested on September 12th, 2011. And so many, there's just top 100, top 10 awards, longer than we have time to read. But more important than that, Jerry Goldstein is funny as hell. His parties are a riot. We have such a good time there. And the party is catered by Chef Chris Lanter from the restaurant Cash Cash in Aspen, Colorado, because you have to bring twice as much cash to eat at that restaurant. It's just an Aspen joke. Then Saturday on June 1st, and my apologies, by the way, we tried to get Lenny Frieling on the line, but apparently we're having some difficulty. He's not there. We've tried, but you've got the phone number, perhaps? Let's try and call him and see if we can get him on the line that way. And I will go on with what we've got here. Let's see. Saturday, we've got immigration consequences for drug convictions, marijuana smoking and child custody issues with Michael Levinson. Now, Michael Levinson's defending Daisy Bram, as a matter of fact. So we're going to the phone line here, see if we can get Lenny on the line. Are you there, Leonard Frieling?
Live and in person.
Oh, so glad to have you here. I've been telling people about the Aspen Legal Seminar and all the different speakers and events that are going on here. We're really looking forward to that. And you're moderating on the first day, I see.
I have that honor.
Fantastic.
I'm very excited about that.
So with the seminar coming up, I pretty much run down all the way through Friday and going to Jerry Goldstein's house. And I was trying to give people a feeling of what it's like to listen to him speak. He's doing some presentations. What an amazing lawyer we've got here.
There are a number of us that think, honestly, we're pretty bright. Then we spend some time with Jerry Goldstein, And we remember, we're not that smart.
Yeah, really.
He's one of those.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that the top look up to. So, yeah, we're really, really flattered that we get to go party at his place there. And, of course, the Saturday, we get to go out to Hunter Thompson's place and, tell people a little bit about that relationship between Hunter Thompson and NORML.
To me, I'm going to back up just one step. To me, walking on the ground of Owl Farm is like walking up the mountain where Moses got the tablets. It's hallowed ground. I walk on there. I think I should be barefoot next time. I have run into people from all over the world, including somebody I met in Spain less than a month ago, who had gone out of his way to drive past the road in Woody Creek, where they thought Owl Farm was kind of up over the hill where they couldn't see. And I've heard that story before. And we're invited there. Hunter and NORML go way back. He goes way back in his relationship with lawyers like Hal Haddon and of course Abe Hutt more recently, even though that's been many, many, many years now. He put together, when he needed it, he put together a dream team, and I'm thinking that was before O.J. heard of the word dream team, and ended up with a settlement on a DUI allegation where Hunter entered into an agreement that said, I agree driving drunk is a bad thing, and the arresting officer signed an agreement, as I recall it, that said, same agreement, that said it's bad for cops to lie. Who else but Hunter could have gotten his lawyers to go in with a straight face and gotten that on paper signed?
Wow. What an amazing legacy. And every time we're out there, it's just, history just lives there, and you can just feel the irreverence sometimes in the ground,
Well, you can see the irreverence in the bullet holes in the tree stumps everywhere.
That too. That's what I was getting at. Empty shotgun casings and bullet holes.
So the legacy does live on, and what Anita continues to do with and for NORML, and what a sweetheart of a person she is. I mean, Hunter was a lucky man to have met her and married her. She's just the best. To open her home up to a group of people because their politics are similar, it's an amazing thing. It's just an amazing thing.
Well, transitioning to the present now, I can just imagine what Hunter might have thought of, now the governor, the brew pub governor, signing regulations to make Colorado the first state to regulate a recreational marijuana market. What's your reaction to these new regulations, and what do you think Hunter would have thought of them?
I wish that the opportunity to read the book called Fear and Loathing in Colorado existed.
Yeah.
As only Hunter could have told the story.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think at some level, of course, he just would have grinned. And at another level, to the extent that I see him as a rebel at heart, not just a rebel on a specific issue, and when that issue is won, you're done being a rebel. The man was a rebel at heart from what I know and from what I've read. And what the cause would have been, whether it would have been furthering the progress on this one or the next cause, don't know. Wish he was here to lead whatever that charge might have been.
Yeah. Now, with these new regulations, I know that there's some who think that, things have become too regulated, too taxed, too secure.
You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
Take our drunk driving bill that I think was also signed today in the stack. It is not perfect. It has problems. It has some flaws. On the other hand, there are at least 10 states already that have substantially worse DUI pot bills, ranging from terrifying to just plain outrageously scary. So is it perfect? No. Are the laws perfect? No. Are they bad? No, not too bad. A couple of problems here and there, but overall, I think quite a number of months ago, while letting us know that Colorado NORML was going to have a seat, a chair at the governor's task force, the governor's people made it clear, we are going to make this work. They followed through on it. I think they've kept their word. The tax-related initiative, for example, I read that carefully and compared it to the Constitution, the one we passed, A64. It really tracks it well. Now, our turn is going to come because in Colorado, to have a new tax, the voters have to pass it. So you're going to hear me calling out to us to vote for a measure that will tax us. And I will remind us that we already voted for the measure that allows for that tax. And as proposed, the tax is lower than the maximum permitted by the Constitution. So we have to stick with it and follow through, and that's going to mean this Tabor election in November where the tax has to pass. But all in all, it's, I'd say, exciting beyond words, but that doesn't make for much of a show.
Well, it's amazing that we're living in a time now where we've got states openly flouting the federal prohibition, as they did with alcohol, to begin tumbling down this wall. And of course, sometimes these steps, they're not always exactly what everyone wants, but they're steps forward. With respect to, yeah, go ahead.
That's the thing. We need to, behind closed doors, we all need to talk and figure out the best plan. Then we open the doors, and I'd love it when we all go forward with the same plan. Is the best plan? Well, first, there is no such thing. Second, even if there was, everyone wouldn't agree on it. But when that door is open, in order to keep moving forward effectively and with the most beneficial, least harmful result, we all need to continue to work together. That's how we won the election.
Exactly. Now, if people want to work with, and I know Colorado NORML's all rejuvenated and running strong. If people want to get involved with Colorado NORML, what do they need to do?
Go to coloradonormal.org, sign up, send money, send your email address, sign up to volunteer if you're able to. Jerry Shepard, new board member, from the west, from Fort Collins, let's see, Larimer County or Greeley. Oh, she's Greeley. I'm sorry. I apologize, Jerry. Not only is she our new board member from up north, but she's also our volunteer coordinator. And when you give Jerry a job to do and she takes it on, it gets done. So if somebody sends their name in and says, I want to volunteer, they will be used. So join, send money, join National NORML. We're all in this together. National NORML has our backs. They have the support we need. Visit our website. Part of the support from National is in the form of web feeds, so we can try to keep current on news, which, as you know better than most, keeping current on news in 2013 is impossible.
It was easier in 2008, I'll tell you that.
I hear that. I mean, once it's news, before it's out your mouth, it's old, and if you're lucky, still good information.
Yeah, well, Leonard Frieling is the executive director of Colorado NORML and doing so many other things. I want to thank you for joining us on the show, and I'll see you in Aspen.
My pleasure. Look forward to it, Russ.
All right, when we come back, time for a radical rant, kind of an apology to Kevin Sabet, sort of. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisements because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cast your eyes up to the skies. What is it to live and die?
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical rant.
Well, Kevin Sabet asked me for an apology over my recent post on Huffington Post that was entitled, Project Sam's Kevin Sabet claims 39% Washington teens use dispensary pot. Reality is 9.4%. Basically, I accused him of adding up columns of percentages for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders to come up with a scary-sounding and completely inaccurate claim that, quote, this is from his tweet, 39% of high school students in Washington state report getting their marijuana from a medical marijuana dispensary, end quote. I know Kevin's required to put medical in scare quotes, despite thousands of years of human medical use, tens of thousands of published studies on the medical efficacy of cannabinoids, and closing in on, 21 U.S. states that have recognized these scientific and historical facts? Because, the FDA hasn't approved it. Like Vioxx. All right, so here it is. Kevin, I apologize for questioning the means by which you came up with a completely irrelevant statistic. You obviously didn't add up percentages. Oxford taught you better than that. You merely reported on what Seattle Schools was reporting on, which is a phenomenon we call sharing. All right, look, before we get too deep into the numbers, let's remember for a moment that Kevin initially reported Washington State high school students, not just the teens in Seattle that this report covers, and that for all the teens in Seattle, the figure's 9.4%. And for readers not savvy enough to understand that got their marijuana means that the 39% refers only to the subset that smoke marijuana, and not all Washington State high school students, as the initial tweet wrote. Other than that, it's just fear-mongering and deception. That's all. Now, also, don't forget that within the same report, Seattle Schools writes, quote, current marijuana use rates in all grades have remained statistically unchanged, end quote. So not any more kids are really smoking pot. But apparently 39% of them are getting it from a dispensary. Well, here's the details from this particular Seattle Schools report. They asked question number 97, during the past 30 days, how did you usually get the marijuana that you used? Now from that, there was 1,608 people, and 1,185 of them, 75.4%, 3 out of 4 kids, said they don't smoke pot. Now right off the bat, something jumped out at me. When did 1,185 become 75.4% of 1,608? Now, I know Kevin and these guys have doctorates, but my Excel tells me the figure's 73.69, and at best you can round that to 73.7, at least in public school. And then I checked some of the other numbers in this table. What happened to one of the kids aged 15 and younger, 16 and 17, and 18 and older who didn't smoke pot, who only add up to 1,184? And what happened to 11 of the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders who add up to 1,597? Some kids keep disappearing in this data, but whatever. Let's play with the published numbers. So, given that you got 1,608 kids, let's just concentrate on the 423 who did use marijuana. I crunched the numbers in Excel, and it told me that 25 kids out of the 423 got from a medical marijuana dispensary. 10 of them used it at home without permission. 11 of them used it at home with permission. 287 of them got it from their friends. And 90 of them got their pot some other way. So really, two-thirds, 67%, two-thirds of the kids are getting it from their friends, and 25 out of 423 teens getting it from a dispensary. That works out to 5.9%, about 6%. Now, for comparison's sake, I thought it would be interesting to look at the data for alcohol acquisitions by teens in the past 30 days, as also reported in this survey on question 46. During the past 30 days, how did you usually get the alcohol you drank? Well, 1,133 of the kids didn't drink, but 23 of them bought it in a store. 5 of them bought it at a restaurant. 6 of them bought it at a public event. 98 kids gave someone money to buy it for them. 172 of them, someone gave it to them. 35 of them stole it from a store or their family. And 106 of them got it some other way. Now again, my Excel doesn't exactly agree with the Seattle schools numbers, but the way I look at it, there were 34 out of 445 teens who drank booze they bought from stores, restaurants, and events. Or as I'd call them, recreational alcohol dispensaries. So that's 7.6% compared to the 5.9% for the marijuana dispensaries. Now, let's take a look at question number 98. This is where things get a little tricky. Remember, question 97 focused on where did you get the marijuana you usually smoked? Whereas question 98 asks the following. During the past 30 days, did you use marijuana that came from a medical marijuana dispensary? And in that, we have 160 kids say yes, 164 say no, 97 said they weren't sure. Now, if you're adding that up in your head, I know that's 1,187 kids, not 1,185 as the previous, but whatever. Let's run with it. So in this data, we find that 160 out of the 421 kids, right, not 423 like the last table, don't worry about it, just a couple kids. 160 out of the 421 who used marijuana in the past month say it came from a dispensary. That's the 9.4% of all high school students in Seattle that I originally wrote about. But it is also a shocking 38.5% of all teen pot smokers that have used dispensary pot. Or, as Seattle schools hastily added a little table at the end, among students who used marijuana during the past 30 days, the percentage who reported they used marijuana that came from a medical marijuana dispensary, and indeed it works out to 38.5%. Now, here is why that's a meaningless statistic. Sharing and lying. Now recall that 5.9% of our pot smoking teens usually got the pot he uses, and I'm saying he because it's almost always male, got the pot he used from a dispensary. Now consider that pot smoking is an activity that happens in social circles. Given 423 pot smokers, and 25 of them usually get it from dispensaries, how big does your pot smoking circle have to be in order to have a 39% chance that month of smoking some dispensary weed from somebody? Well, I did the math on it. It's actually 8.5, but let's not worry about that right now. Pot smokers share. If one teen gets a hold of some dispensary marijuana, he's going to share, either by passing a joint or selling an eighth. But now there's going to be a bunch of teens who smoked dispensary weed, but only one of them who actually got weed from a dispensary. Remember, Seattle schools already said 2/3 of the kids are getting it from their friends. And also, people lie. Especially young male teenagers tend to lie. If some teenager is growing his own pot and selling it, he's going to upsell it by saying, nah, man, this is some medical shit, bruh. And then every teen who believes that is now checking the, well, I used marijuana from a dispensary on the survey. Finally, go back to the alcohol table. Every column that is not, did not drink, is a data point of teenagers who used alcohol that came from a recreational alcohol dispensary. 100%! Unless some of them are fermenting or distilling their own, let's say 99.9%. And yet Kevin Sabet is strangely silent about the need to repeal the 21st Amendment for the sake of the children. All right, that's all the time we got here in Hour 1 at our first show at Roll-A-Tide Studios. Big hand for Brian the Red on the boards, kicking ass and taking names. Thanks to Bacon Dan for today's song. Coming up next, we got Toker Talk Radio. We'll open up the phone lines. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you